Welcome, beautiful beings of light. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Kristina Day. And if you're new to the channel, I was actually, guys, thinking how to introduce, how to start the video, because for so long I've been calling my YouTube channel Spiritually Selfish, and I've been leading with the aspects that you need to focus on yourself, aka you need to become spiritually selfish, fill up your own cup in order to be able to become selfless, right? So it was focus on yourself, raise your vibration, consciously create your own reality. And while all of this is still applicable, I feel I've been going through a lot of inner introspection. I feel that going forward, or where I'm being guided or finally inspired to lead with, is to talk more about higher consciousness, higher awareness, more quantum energetics, and moving beyond the human suffering, what we're going to be talking about today. And I kind of did my previous video in that style, where I spoke about the lower, mid, and higher realms of living, and how we actually have a choice in deciding which reality we want to participate in and experience. And I was really pleasantly surprised that that video took off. And it's a very positive feedback for me, to know that people are interested, that people resonate with these kind of topics. So that's what I'm feeling right now, that going forward, I will be more shifting from, if in the past it was a lot of the focus was on inner work aspect of doing the shadow work and undoing the conditioning that has been preventing you from seeing your divine self and seeing your original blueprint of overflow. If that was the foundation, right now I feel, for me at least, that's what desires to come through me, is to offer higher consciousness perspectives and actually be providing these new perspectives, new ways of being, into which people are actually able to shift. It's like, if we don't know that we have another choice, if we don't know that there are other ways of being, most of the time people would just be sticking to their comfort, to the known, right? So that being said, shadow work and doing the inner work, and that's what I have created a lot of the courses in the past, is the foundation. Because if you haven't done the foundation and you have not cleared the density from your vessel on mental, emotional, spiritual, energetical, and physical levels, it will be extremely challenging to all of a sudden shift into higher perspective, to shift into higher vibrational frequencies, to be going through your vessel. Why? Because your vessel is clogged up with the density, right? If the vase is full of dirty, milky water, like, you cannot pour clean water into it, right? So please know that there's a lot of content on my YouTube channel where I talk about these things, and where I also, there's a separate playlist on ASMR. Well, some of it is ASMR, but a lot of it, there's light language upgrades, healings, there are meditations, and so on. And there's even more courses and content library that I have created for people to do those clearing work, right? And if you're new to my channel, welcome. My name is Kristina Day, and that's what I've been doing for a couple of years lately. Is working with people, guiding people, mentoring, really to find their personal power and release the distortions of who they're not, right? To step into personal power, to follow their soul mission. And mainly I've been doing that through programs and courses, but the main focus has been always one-on-one sessions, especially as a neo-shamanic healing human hologram surgery sessions. In those sessions, I have seen so many shifts and have heard so many experiences of people, which also, have helped me tremendously to be of greater service and be able to create content like this, is because, opportunity of working with people from all sorts of walks of life, right? So that is a quick welcome and intro. But today I want to be creating a video that I have actually wanted to create for quite a few weeks, and I haven't uploaded for 4 weeks already on my YouTube channel. Apologies, but finally I have found the time, and I'm really happy and excited that I'm filming this video for you guys. And it is navigating human suffering. And in all honesty, this video was inspired by me because it was something clearly that I heard in my head recently, that I've been experiencing a moment of a period of suffering, and where I was crying and upset and feeling I don't know what to do, or I don't even know what I want, and so on. And, it's that moment of like, that old way of being, like, you already know, your soul already knows. It's not the way, you cannot go back, but the path forward is not clear. And I don't know about you guys, but for me, I've always been the type of person that, well, I can do anything. I can start this, and this. And I know if I put my heart and soul into it, I will make it. But do I really want it? Like, why would I do that? Like, would I do it because I think, because that's my experience, because that's the easiest way? And then none of the ways forward seems the right way. That was the suffering for me. And before shooting this video, I was thinking, how do I want to structure it at the point that I want to touch on? And the first thing that I want to open up this video with is, well, first of all, let's talk about intention. My biggest intention for this specific video is that I want to support people, specifically around this topic of suffering, right? I want to support people with shifting into a more empowered state of being, of shifting, and just generally speaking, of shifting people into a state of being of centeredness, groundedness, presence, and coherence or alignment, right? Because this state of centeredness and alignment and presence, this is one of the best states from which you should and would be able to consciously shape your life with ease, grace, and flow, like effortlessly, right? On the other hand, where you are in suffering, when we are in suffering, I don't need to explain it to you, but we are wasting so much time. We're wasting so much potential. And suffering can be showing up in many situations, right? We can be experiencing a spectrum of emotions when we are in suffering. But when we are in suffering, is it an empowered state of being from which we would want to shape and influence our life, right? If we do shape our life from a place of suffering, right, what is the frequency, like energetical signature we are creating from and infusing our creation from, right? It's will be a frequency of fear and lack, right? Whether when we are, on the other hand, creating from a place of alignment, peace, being centered in our heart, but also centered between, spirit and matter, between feminine and the masculine, which all of us have inside, right? Then that creation is coming from a place of what? Alignment, overflow, basically the frequency of love. This is the intention, is how do we navigate human suffering? Because first and foremost, guys, I want you guys to understand there's nothing wrong with experiencing suffering, no matter where you're at, no matter who you are, no matter why you're suffering. This is okay. You're a human being, right? And this video is going to be created in order to support you to, transcend, move past this human experience of suffering, because I do think suffering is serving a purpose, but a lot of the times, what we humans have been experiencing when it comes to suffering, it is unnatural at this point. And when I say unnatural, I mean basically we're taking it to such a degree when it's almost out of control, right? So what is suffering? Suffering, what I kind of feel, and I tuned in and I was asking myself, what is suffering? And suffering, to me at least, seems that it is an experience of experiences that comes up to us when we are not where we want to be or where we think we should be, right? Then I was like thinking about my moments of suffering, and I feel like, yes, this is 100% that the moments of suffering that I have experienced is because I was frustrated of where I was, or frustrated with the experiences of my life, or frustrated of the lack of experiences that I would like to have. And then I was curious, let me ask Mother Google, how does Google define suffering? And I'm gonna read you the definition of suffering. Basically, according to Google, suffering is the state of undergoing pain, distress, or hardship. And when I was reading it, I was asking myself, well, what is pain, what is distress, and what is hardship? It's basically, in my opinion, the same words or the same emotion, the same energetical signature described in different words. Because let's look at the pain. Pain can be physical and pain can be emotional. And also, by the way, our brain has no capability to differentiate between emotional or physical pain. It's just pain for the brain. One point that I missed that I wanted to talk, let me come back to this Google definition, but what I came to realize, you guys, that we are experiencing pain, we are experiencing frustration, distress, hardships, whatever, right? But those things are just, that's it, pain or distress or whatever. It's not actually the suffering. Suffering, we actually create suffering ourselves, for ourselves, right? So suffering, in my opinion, is a result of us being stuck in the loop of being in this state of not being happy, being frustrated, and about certain situation, about pain or distress or hardship. And instead of moving on, we are creating suffering because we're experiencing some sort of emotion that is tied to that experience. We are stuck in the loop of suffering, right? And I'm gonna share with you how to move past it and why it's actually happening. But just to quickly come back to pain, distress, and hardship. So pain can be emotional and pain can be physical, but our brain has no ability to differentiate it. So for example, when some of the, when we are, for example, going through a breakup, or going through a huge grief when we lost someone dear to us, it is so painful. It is emotional pain, right? But it is so painful. We literally can feel it in our bodies. Why? Because the emotion is so deep and so intense that it literally is manifesting into the physicality, into our bodies. Okay. Same when we sometimes love someone so much. You have heard the saying, I love you so much it hurts. Because again, it's such a deep emotion, intense emotion. So with that being said, I just want to draw your awareness that all of it is actually just energetics and just the emotions. And we are the ones who are in the charge of our experience. And yes, 100%, sometimes these emotions that are causing this experience or triggering the experience within us are so intense that it is challenging for our conscious mind, for our heart, loving heart, to step in and guide us into a place of alignment and peace, and that everything is okay and just relax, because those emotions can really create illusion of a fly from somewhere. But when we are in a big emotional distress or experience, 100%. It takes a skill and practice to be able to pause and step back, because most of the time it's in the emotion it's coming from the unconscious, and it will make us unconscious. It will make us go blank. And all of our work that we have done just goes out of the window, right? So in those moments, it's important to give grace to yourself and give yourself permission to feel, and that it's okay to feel, and it's okay to be sometimes a mess. But it's not okay that you are continuing to create your own suffering for days and days and weeks and maybe months, or in some people even years, right? So it's not about blaming, shaming, or suppressing your emotions or invalidating your experience. And by all means, the suffering can be about anything. It can be about your health, about your relationships, about money, about your love life, about about you're not happy about the impact you're making or not making in the world, or something as simple, somebody said something and hurt your feelings. There's so many ways how we can experience or when we can experience suffering, right? If we define suffering as not being where I want to be or where I think I should be, right? It seems pretty simple. How to stop my suffering is, well, either get yourself where you want to be, and sometimes even more suffering comes from that because we feel like I don't know how to get somewhere else where I want to be, right? So we create even more suffering, right? Or we can or should change the perception of the situation. And in an ideal world, we should be able to do both. Change the perception of the current experience and start moving towards a better experience that we desire, right? Because why suffering is happening is because we're dwelling on a freaking situation for way too long than we should. Because what is truly happening, an experience in the external world is coming into our inner experience, into our reality. It is triggering something internally in us, and it is the frustration. Frustration is the result of the inner experience or dissatisfaction that we are experiencing. And because we are taking that situation personally, because there is an emotional charge, we are, really experiencing it the emotional pain, right? And sometimes it starts to manifest into the physical because it's so great. But if instead of external experience comes into our life, and we know that it's not about life is happening to us, but something is coming into my experience of reality, and it's reflecting something about my way of being, about my consciousness, or it's also a way of infinite, of like the divine, the universe, to communicate to you that it's time to upgrade, my love. That there is something in your life that is trying to communicate that, hey, maybe this relationship doesn't serve you. Hey, maybe it's time to change your job. Hey, maybe it's time to elevate your money standards. Hey, maybe it's time to draw some freaking boundaries. Hey, maybe it's time to stop tolerating self-sabotaging self-talk and start pursuing and acting on your inspired desires and ideas instead of spending time in doubt, right? So situation will come into your life and you have a choice: either get curious and like, what is the situation trying to communicate to me and what's the opportunity here? Or you take it personally because there's still emotional charge. And in the first decision, there still can be emotional charge, but you can get on top of it and be observer instead of being in every action and taking it personally, right? Because you can make it mean something about yourself. Oh, why this situation is happening to me again? I'm not good enough. I don't know what to do, and start experiencing shame, guilt, anger, and all sorts of emotions, right? And then the suffering starts, right? Suffering didn't start because of the experience that came into your reality. You were the one who started to make yourself suffer because of it, because you didn't have enough of loving awareness that could, or capacity of loving awareness that could experience this situation through the lens, through the perception of loving awareness, right? You perceive that through the lens of your inner wounded child. That's all that there is, right? So that's the main core message here, you guys, that we are the ones who are creating our own suffering. Situations, life, reality, things in life, they just are, period. Because let's be real, sometimes situations come into your life and it's a disaster. But that same situation could come into someone else's life and that's it. It's not a big deal. And sometimes the situation comes into someone else's life, and for you, it's not a big deal, but it's a big deal for them. Why? Because there's a story attached. There's an emotional charge that they are experiencing inside of them. They're having experience inside, right? So it's a process of inner alchemy and working with your own consciousness that is required for you to be able to transcend human suffering. Not because I am better than human suffering, I'm better than all these people who are having negative emotions. No, it's because you're stepping into a role of observer rather than being at the mercy of your emotions. And by all means, I'm not saying that feeling your emotions, if you're feeling your emotions, you're so, you're not conscious enough, you're not spiritual enough, you haven't done the work enough. Like, I also have my triggers. We are all humans, and sometimes those triggers are so deep, they're so emotional, they're so intense that we'll lose our cool, and we are going deeply into emotional experience. But this video is not about that. This video is more of bringing it to your awareness. When you are not in the deep emotional experience anymore, when you're not screaming and crying, right? Stop dwelling on the situation and shift your perception into the actual opportunity it is offering you to up-level your life. And yes, some experiences, some situations are horrendous. I'm not dismissing it. Absolutely not. But the thing is, the harder we're being squished and squeezed, the faster and further we will fly away, like in terms of, like, for the diamond, you need for the diamond to be created, you need to pressure the coal, right? So it's under pressure. Like, look at 2020, the situation that was supposed to enslave humanity. What did it create? It triggered mass awakening, because so many people were pressured into uncomfortability and pressed, and their boundaries has been pressed, that for a lot of them, it required to step up. And for a lot of them, inner work was required to do, right? So this is my biggest invite to you, to start inquiring and getting curious about your life and start expanding your awareness. And, I'm speaking to you guys who have done the work, who have been years in self-development, and you know that you are creator of your own reality. But my biggest intention is to start bringing it to people's attention. Is the way you think, the lens of perception you are experiencing life. Are you experiencing it through the lens of fear and lack, or love and alignment? Because no matter what happens in your life, if you are looking at it through the lens of perception of alignment and love, any shitty experience, you freaking know it's going to pay off. Like, I cannot describe millions of experiences in my life where I thought, like, excuse me, what is this mess? Like, God, you cannot be serious, But at this point, the universe have humbled me so many times. And showed me that every time I'm experiencing a mess, it's just rearranging things for me. It's making a way for better things to enter my life. And sometimes this frustration comes, in my personal experience, it comes in a lot of frustration and anger and dissatisfaction, where it's not just about me perceiving the external world, or how I experience the external world, but actually elevating my own standards. I'll just give you a quick example. So, since I was little, I was always feeling this desire for impact. I just saw myself on stages. I felt I want to, speak to people, share with people, empower people. I want to feel, I want to help people feel empowered and that they're capable, and that they're master creators of their reality. That's what I wanted as a kid, as a teenager. But I was born into a small country with less than 2 million people, and you still can feel, now it's better, but when I was growing up, you still can heavily feel the post Second World War energetics and consequences, right? A lot of people live in victim mentality. There haven't been a lot of really good male models. In Latvia, a lot of women had to toughen up to make shit happen and so on. All of these are the post-war consequences. So for me, a little small girl who has enormous inner drive and spirit, looks around and there's absolutely no one who is as mystical and deep, and everyone is just drinking, partying, and everyone's just working freaking hard, and no one really cares about anything, but then also everyone is afraid to go and do something meaningful. And yeah, it made me feel insignificant, that I don't have resources, that I have to work so much more harder for to even get where the rest of the world is, and that there's no one else whom I can ask for support, not financially, not mentally, not emotionally, not guidance to where I want to go, right? So I started to work on myself since the age of 13. And I got myself to very far, let's say so. I traveled all the world, all around the world, lived in many countries, did so many self-development trainings and so on. But yet I think it was 2018 or 2020 when I returned back to Latvia. And yeah, I was just, doing, that was the period when I started to do deep shadow work, when I started to become aware of energetics, when I started to go beyond the linear self-development, personal development kind of way of thinking, and really working with the energetics and releasing who I'm not, the density, what I described to you. And I started to see how actually my reality is shifting and molding, and actually the stories that I've been telling to myself are not true at all. The stories that I was telling about the way reality is, But still, I will be surrounded with the type of people that I was surrounded with always, like people who don't really have a drive for life, who don't really believe in themselves, right? And I deeply craved to have connections and work on the projects that are global level, not just work on my laptop and make some money. Like, I don't really care about it. What my soul desired is deep impact, like big impact, work with deep people, and create something meaningful in this world. But yet I did not have this type of people in my reality. Why? Because, and that was creating me a lot of suffering. I felt I'm not where I want to be, and I'm wasting my time. Why am I even on this freaking planet? Blah blah blah. The thing is, I was still associating myself with all of these people, type of people I was surrounded with my whole life. And I felt insignificant to all the people who are actually making big difference in the world, because I'm not making the same amount of money as they. I don't, have connections, blah blah blah, and all of the stories. And I realized it's me who's creating my own suffering, because I'm in the self-pityness, instead of taking the feedback that the frustration that I'm experiencing is communicating to me that, hey, Kristina, it's time to elevate your level of tolerance. What do you tolerate in your life? Because I was tolerating the type of people with whom I didn't even want to associate. And by all means, it's not that these people are bad or anything. It's it's because I didn't understand that you can basically choose. You can choose with whom you can associate. And I kind of was feeling that's who I am, a loser, insignificant girl who will always be stuck here. But my soul desire was impact and, creating things that actually are way beyond me. And that inner frustration, my soul would not, leave me alone. But when I stepped out of the experience of the pain that I was experiencing, the suffering, when I stepped it out, and I was like, okay, Kristina, you're here, and I'm going to show you like this. So the Kristina who was in pain and suffering and dissatisfaction was sitting here. And energetically, I felt I'm literally connected with the type of people I was connected with my whole life, and they're not just living up to the same desires and way of being that I want to have, right? So all of this was happening energetically as I was experiencing in this level. But the people with whom I wanted to hang out with were like here. And I felt insignificant to them. I didn't know how to get there, right? But when I stepped out of my pain, when I became the observer, and I was like, okay, here's the Kristina that is in pain, that is dissatisfied, and she sees she's connecting with these people, and she sees no way out there. She doesn't see how she can go up where she wants to be. And when I observed it, I was like, okay, acceptance, this is what it is, and it's okay. But then I also had to release the energetical cords and send love to, see through the eyes of the divine the people with whom I didn't want to hang out, weren't the type of people with whom I felt that I can co-create and be my true potential. And when I healed that pain through emotional release and self-acceptance, and then elevating my self-image, when I realized that, hey man, I'm no worse than these people. And actually, I have so many gifts that these people need as a puzzle piece to create the projects. And actually, it's not their projects. We all are envisioning this better future for humanity, for the planet Earth. I felt how these people, this imaginary group of people, they come down here. And how actually it's none of it is in hierarchy. All of it is just different frequencies, right? Just like a rainbow, different frequencies, different bandwidths. This is something I talked about in my previous video that I mentioned at the beginning. So I'm going to link it up here or here. If you want to learn more about, shifting your reality based on your frequency. But I stopped participating in my suffering. I stopped entertaining it. I stopped tolerating my own low standards about whom I surround myself with. I claim my worth. I started to see my genius through the eyes of love, not through the eyes of fear. And then when I was able to start see myself as equal to this imaginary people, then guess what? Like this, like seriously like this, within a few days, the universe starts to respond to me, start to reflect me. You need to go to this event. This person reaches out to me, invites me to go this and there, And now looking back a few years, like I'm working with the most incredible people that I deeply love, appreciate, so grateful for, on a projects that are, in my opinion, truly making a difference. And, I'm so joyous and I'm so happy and content and fulfilled. But I wouldn't be able to do it if I would not experience that painful situation in the first place, that were communicating to me and pushing me out of my freaking comfort zone, right? And by all means, I've been sitting in that suffering for a few years, not few years, maybe like, I don't know, 10 years. As I was going through all the personal development, and I felt that one day it will happen, And after all the personal development work, it didn't happen. I'm like, what the heck? Right. So to summarize this, I really hope that sharing my personal stories helps you guys, because for me, I'm the type of person who doesn't read books. Like, I don't know, maybe in my whole life, I've read 5-6 books. Because I quickly understood that, like, energetically, it's not about a book, it's not about technique, whatever. And by all means, I'm not bashing it at all. For me personally, and what I preach and what I want people to shift into from a place of power is that it's not about the external world. It's about you listening to yourself, working with yourself, working with your consciousness, because all the answers are within you. And you'll be surprised when you start doing this work that it's way more simpler than you think. Like, look, suffering that has been going on for years could be shifted just by shifting a freaking perception around it. And by truly asking yourself and inquiring what is the emotional charge, what's the story I'm telling myself that I'm experiencing suffering about or around. And once you alchemize that, you get into place of alignment, centeredness, and coherence, and you create from that place. And when you create from that place, like, I'm telling you, like, the universe always responds to us. And, you know, if it responds to you with suffering, like, well, that's a feedback that you need to take and work with and transcend. And transcend, when I say transcend, maybe transmute will be a better word. Yeah, it's not like, oh, I'm better than this. No, I'm taking it. Thank you. It's a feedback. That's where I'm at, and it's okay. But I'm not going to be kicking myself and beating myself for not being where I want to be at this moment, because I know that where I'm at now is the divine plan of my path, of my soul path, of my life path. I thank you. It's uncomfortable, but this is the path. And I know it sounds cliche, but I'm sure you haven't heard this for the first time. And if you're looking at the people who are where you want to be, ask yourself, and you hear them say this over and over again, ask yourself, why do you think they're saying this, right? Because most of the time they're speaking from experience. And please also don't ever put anyone whom you are seeing on YouTube or on podcasts or events, and like, don't put them on a pedestal. These people are doing what they're doing simply because they have done the work. They either worked hard on their business and they're successful in money and finances and business, or maybe they have done a lot of inner work that enabled them to be in this position to teach, to lead, to share their heart, to share their wisdom, right? And it's your turn next. You know, that's all it is. Because sometimes, yeah, people come over to me and it's like you can feel how people look at you like you are through the lens of illusion, that people who are creating content, they're not some sort of enlightened, like we are all expression of God's source consciousness, or just on a different frequencies with the different levels of consciousness based on the work that you have done or haven't done, period. So if you are experiencing doubt, feeling stuck, or not being where you're at, it's something for you to inquire about. All right, let me summarize this up. Summarize this up. And by the way, please let me know how this type of video, how do you like it? Because for me, again, I'm not about giving you a technique or whatever, because it's not about external technique that some other human came up with through the lens of their perception that works for them. I don't want to give you the fish. I want you to give you the, how you call it, with the thing that you catch fishes with, I don't know, but I want you to be able to go catch your fish yourself, so to speak, right? I want you to be at the place of centeredness, inner knowing, owning your power, and from that place you can deal with any shit, any situation can knock you off, because you got your back, and you know that the universe has your back, and that, trust me, will save you a lot of time, a lot of nerves. and will make your the frequency way coherent, and will support you in manifesting what you want with greater ease. Because if you are incoherent, if you are in distress, if you are in a suffering, and you're thinking about your desire, well, take a wild guess. Will it come true or with ease, grace, and flow, or will it manifest some more craziness? So, to summarize, I don't want you to watch this video and think, oh, just be grateful. It's not about gratitude, you guys. It's about actually being aware and raising your level of consciousness, right? Instead of being here, it's happening to me, you can expand into being a creator. And most of you already are at the level of consciousness of being creator and then co-creator. But then there's another level of I am level of consciousness, that all of this is just one big living organism. That's what unity consciousness is, when you know that everything is the expression of the same thing, of the same consciousness. And when I say consciousness, like air is consciousness. Everything is consciousness that you just manifest through a different frequency on a different levels of dimensions. Basically, it's atoms or quantum particles vibrating at specific vibrate at specific frequency and speed, and hence it manifests in the physical or sometimes in non-physical, in different colors, in different shapes and forms, but it's all the same thing. Okay, so when you truly embody unity consciousness, or I am, it's nothing about you or about them. It's the same damn thing. Okay, and by the way, if you want to find out your current level of consciousness, I have created a fun quiz, find out your level of consciousness, which you'll find down below. So it's not just about being grateful, it's raising your level of consciousness so that you don't create unnecessary suffering for yourself. All right. So guys, I will finish with that. Thank you so much for your time, attention, for watching, for being here. I would really love to hear your feedback in the comments, how this lands. If you have any other questions for future videos, this will really help me out to, respond to what's alive for you. There's a bunch of video content on YouTube that you can check out. There's a lot of free resources that I have created for you. You can also check out down below in the description. And I'll also have created paid courses like Free Your Shadow, True Identity Incubator, Leaders of Light Collective is a subscription, content subscription library. For just $47, you get like access to 40 plus hours of trainings, meditations. And if you want to work one-on-one with me, I do offer one-on-one sessions. Either it's a 5D business intensive session if you're building a brand of a spiritual or conscious business, and also the session which is realign with yourself. So you can realign with yourself, and that brings together all of my mentorship, my consulting, my channeling, my neo-shamanic healing surgery, all into one, tailored specifically for your situation, who you are, where you're going. So if you want to check it out, also all down below. All right, my love, sending you lots of love, and see you in my next video. Bye.